There was a time when Kmart was one of the most successful and recognizable names in American retail. It had thousands of stores, those iconic blue light specials, and an empire so large that honestly, Walmart feared it. But today, people under 23 have probably never even heard of it or stepped foot in one. So what happened to Kmart? And perhaps, more curiously, why did it take so long for it to die? My name is Dominic, and this is the story of the slow-motion collapse of a retail giant. Kmart's story begins in 1962, a year that would prove pivotal for American retail. That same year, two other retail giants, Walmart and Target, also opened their doors for the very first time. But while these three brands would go on to shape the way Americans shopped, Kmart had a unique advantage that set it apart from the start. Unlike its competitors, Kmart was born from the well-established S.S. Kresge Company, a retail pioneer that had been serving communities since 1899. With decades of experience running successful five and dime stores, Kresge's leadership knew exactly what American families wanted and how to deliver it at a scale greater than anybody else at the time. By the late 1960s, Kmart was on tier, opening new stores at a breakneck pace. In fact, there was a period when a brand new Kmart location opened every single week, rapidly spreading the brand's iconic red K across the country. The 70s and 80s marked the golden era of Kmart. The stores became a staple of suburban life, drawing in crowds of eager shoppers week after week. For many families, a trip to Kmart was more than just an errand. It was an event. Parents and kids alike would pile into the car, ready to explore the endless aisles filled with everything from the latest toys to the back-to-school essentials. Kmart's shelves were stocked with an incredible variety of products. Whether you needed notebooks and pencils for the new school year, gardening tools for your backyard, the hottest toys of the season, or affordable clothing for the whole family, Kmart had it all under one roof. The store's wide selection made it a one-stop shop for millions of Americans, and its convenient locations meant there was always a Kmart nearby. Shoppers could find just about anything they needed, from cleaning supplies and kitchen gadgets to furniture and electronics. Kmart's promise was simple. If you needed it, they had it, and you could count on finding it at a price that wouldn't break the bank. Kmart became famous for its unbeatable prices, making everyday essentials accessible to families on a budget. The legendary blue light specials, sudden in-store sales announced over the loudspeaker, created a sense of excitement and urgency, drawing crowds to snag deals on everything from clothing to cookware. These spontaneous discounts became a cultural phenomenon, cementing Kmart's reputation as the place to go for their bargains. But Kmart wasn't always about low prices. The company also partnered with celebrities and designers to offer exclusive brands you couldn't find anywhere else. The Martha Stewart Everyday Collection, for example, brought stylish home goods to the masses and became a billion-dollar brand in its own right. Other exclusive lines like Jacqueline Smith's clothing and Joe Boxer's playful apparel helped Kmart stand out in a crowded retail landscape. At its peak, Kmart's reach was truly staggering. The company operated more than 2,400 stores worldwide, from bustling American suburbs to international locations in places like Australia and Puerto Rico. For decades, the big red K was a symbol of convenience, value, and the promise that whatever you needed, you could find it at Kmart. But behind the scenes, things were already starting to unravel. While Walmart was investing in logistics and technology, building a distribution network so efficient it rivaled the military, Kmart didn't. Their supply chain remained clunky, inventory systems were outdated, and stores looked increasingly old and tired. Walmart could restock shelves in hours. Kmart sometimes took days. And as Walmart grew aggressively in rural America, Kmart's leadership just watched. Throughout the 90s, Kmart made a series of decisions that would only make things worse. They bought up other struggling retailers like Builders Square and Sports Authority. Instead of fixing their core business, it was a distraction, one they couldn't afford. Kmart also tried to go upscale, revamping stores, increasing prices, but they misread their own customers. People didn't go to Kmart for the ambience, they went for the deals. Meanwhile, Walmart was slashing prices and streamlining operations. By 2002, Kmart had already filed for bankruptcy. Out of bankruptcy came a strange twist. Kmart was once a titan of American retail, had just emerged from a devastating bankruptcy. The company was battered, its stores outdated, and its reputation in tatters. Most people assumed Kmart would quietly fade away, another casualty of changing times and fierce competition from Walmart and Target. But what happened next was something no one could have predicted. Enter Eddie Lampert, a hedge fund billionaire with a reputation for bold, unconventional moves. Lampert saw opportunity where others only saw decline. He bought up Kmart's debt, gaining control of the company. To many, he was a financial wizard, a Wall Street genius who could turn around even the most hopeless of businesses. Lampert believed he could use his financial success to bring new life into Kmart, and he had even bigger plans in mind. In 2005, Lampert orchestrated a merger between Kmart and Sears, another struggling retail giant at the time. The deal was billed as a masterstroke, a way to combine two iconic brands, cut costs, and create a retail powerhouse that could compete with the likes of Walmart and Home Depot. The press conference was full of optimism, with executives shaking hands and promising a bright future. Investors and employees alike hoped this would be the turnaround both companies desperately needed. The logic seemed sound. Two companies, both with deep roots in American retail, could join forces and leverage their combined scale. Lampert spoke of synergies, economies of scale, and a retail comeback. He promised that by streamlining operations and sharing resources, Sears and Kmart could return to profitability. Employees were told to expect innovation and investment. Shoppers were promised better stores and new experiences. For a brief moment, hope flickered. But behind the scenes, Lampert's strategies were very different. Instead of investing in stores, updating technology, or fixing broken supply chains, he focused on financial engineering. Lampert believed that by cutting costs to the bone and squeezing every last dollar from the business, he could deliver quick profits. He slashed spending on the maintenance, store upgrades, and employee training. The stores, already struggling, began to deteriorate even further. And to keep the company afloat, Lampert sold off valuable assets, prime real estate, beloved brands, and lucrative licensing deals. These sales brought in cash, but they also stripped the company of its most valuable resources. Store locations that had anchored communities for decades were shuttered or sold to the highest bidder. Iconic brands like Craftsman and Kenmore were spun off, leaving the core business weaker than ever. On paper, the company sometimes showed a profit. Financial reports highlighted short-term gains from asset sales and cost-cutting. Analysis debated whether Lampert's strategy was genius or madness, but these profits were an illusion, temporary boosts that masked the underlying decline. Core business was shrinking, and the stores were becoming less and less appealing to shoppers. The reality on the ground was grim. Stores were neglected, shelves were empty, and employees were demoralized. Shoppers who once relied on Sears and Kmart for everything from appliances to school clothes now found only disappointment. The experience became depressing. What was once a proud symbol of American retail had become a cautionary tale of missed opportunities and the dangers of financial engineering over true investment. Over the next 15 years, Kmart slowly disappeared from the American landscape. Once a retail giant, its familiar red and blue logo became a rare sight, fading from the neighborhoods it had served for generations. The decline wasn't sudden or dramatic. Instead, it was a slow, almost guaranteed unraveling, a gradual vanishing act that left communities wondering when, not if, their local Kmart would be next. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. The once bustling aisles grew eerily silent, the shelves less and less full, the fluorescent lights flickering over empty spaces where crowds once gathered for the blue light specials. Stores weren't abruptly shut down. There was no dramatic announcement, no sudden collapse. Instead, locations lingered in a strange retail limbo, open, but barely alive. Employees showed up for work, unsure if their store would last another month or even another week at that. They just quietly faded away. Each closure was like a small sigh, barely noticed outside its own community, but together they formed a chorus of loss across the country. One here, two there. A store in a small town would close, then another in a distant suburb, as if the company was erasing itself from the map one dot at a time. 100 more the next year. Headlines chronicled the closures, but the news rarely made the front page. For many, it was just another sign of changing times, a familiar brand quietly slipping away. By 2018, less than 300 Kmarts remained. The chain that once boasted thousands of locations was now a shadow of its former self, its presence streaking with every passing year. By 2020, just 34 stores remained, and today we have fewer than 5 Kmarts remaining. The end wasn't marked by a single event, but by how slow, relentless march toward obscurity. So why did it take so long? Why did Kmart's demise stretch out over so many years instead of ending quickly like so many other failed retailers? Because Eddie Lampert, the man in charge, didn't care about saving Kmart as a store or a community institution. He saw value not in the brand or its people, but in the assets he could extract. He was stripping it for parts. Real estate, inventory, and intellectual property were all more valuable to him than the stores themselves. Each closure was a calculated move, not a failure of management, but a deliberate dismantling. The slow closure wasn't incompetence, it was strategy. Kmart's drawn-out decline was the result of a business plan that prioritized short-term gains over long-term survival, leaving behind empty buildings, lost jobs, and a legacy that faded, not with a final act, but with 1,000 quiet goodbyes. For millions of Americans, Kmart was more than a store. It was a childhood. It was a back-to-school season. It was where mom bought you your new pair of shoes. And it's a powerful reminder, big companies don't fall overnight. They slowly rot from within. Poor leadership, missed innovation, and a refusal to evolve. Walmart didn't kill Kmart. Kmart did that to itself. The story of Kmart isn't just about retail. It's about what happens when a giant forgets why it matters. Thank you for watching. If you found this video interesting, like and comment and subscribe for more deep dives.